Hello, this is Laura Richardson with the Stone Beach Permaculture broadcast, and I'm here with Gino Rossi. He's an urban farmer from Puerto Rico who's doing some pretty interesting things with raised bed and urban farming. So what kind of operation do you have in Puerto Rico?
Well, what we have is a series of terraces and wooden garden boxes to be able to develop and grow our permaculture farm, our vision of a permaculture farm. We grow all sorts of different vegetables. You do a lot of companion planting, and we have been using the garden boxes as a way to grow more than what you're usually able to do on a smaller area. We also have the ability to add better soil and better nutrients and not lose them so fast due to so much rain that we get here. And that's really what we're working on right now.
And I noticed that your farm has an interesting name. It's called Rossi Farms, or?
Rossi Naturals.
Yeah. Can you tell us the meaning of the farm? I thought it meant something in Spanish.
Well, so no, naturals is just it kind of encompasses everything we are doing in terms of we're naturally growing vegetables and fruits in a permaculture setting, which mimics the way things will happen in the wild as much as possible. We are also off-grid in terms of energy, so we are using natural renewable energy from the sun to run our house electronically, and then we're also collecting rainwater. So the natural part of the name of the farm sort of brings together the off-grid and renewable energy, water collection, and growing your own food, a theme that we have going.
Do you find that local buyers or local chefs are really interested in what you're doing?
I do. I actually have a lot of people that are chefs who are looking for many of the things that we are growing. We have a lot of friends who are wanting to buy stuff that we are growing as well. We are not yet at the point where we want to be selling, because we're still developing many of the different growing areas, and we are also working on expanding our property. Currently, we are only growing on about a third of the property, and we hope within the next 6 to 9 months we will be growing in the other areas of the property, so that we can satisfy the demand to get more of a produce into the hands of people via garden, via vegetable boxes that we can sell to them on a subscription weekly basis. But we haven't really approached too many chefs to talk about it, because the truth and the reality is that in Puerto Rico, we, in general, 90% of all produce is imported into the island. And the fact that we are growing a lot of things very successfully would create a big, huge demand for what we have. And right now we are not at the level of being able to scale out, because we're still doing some testing as to what things grow well and what things don't grow well here. We have imported a lot of seeds from different parts of the world, and we came here from California, and we have brought a lot of the plants and vegetables that we like from over there to here, so that we're still working with the climate and how to have things find a success. So this year, or these past few months, have been fabulous, because we have seen many of the things that we have started are doing fantastically, and so we're seeing many things turning. The soil's becoming really, really fertile. The climate, the climate's now not becoming so much of a problem. Many of the plants that we have chosen to grow are actually responding well. They are acclimating themselves to the weather, and we actually just now begun building out a section to have in-ground beds into the property, which has taken us a little bit of time to build out because we tend to have a lot of clayish soil, which is very good for plantains and bananas and things like that, but it's not so good for vegetables like kale and lettuce and cilantro and things like that. So we have to amend the soil. So we've been working hard on that. One of our goals that we have is that we want to hit onto niche markets, such as places that follow our vision. So we're vegan. Our family we're vegan. So we have a series of restaurants and juice bars that cater to vegan people that are vegan themselves and to what they offer. And one of the problems that they have is getting vegetable greens. A lot of your baby kale, baby lettuce, and chard and things that they would like to use into their juices, it's impossible to find right now. So we've been working hard at making sure that the companion planting that we do are actually allowing for these guys to come up and thrive, and they would be one of the first places that we try out. But we also are looking to distribute more to immediate local areas, not so much far from where we live. And the reason for that is because we truly believe in the prepare what's been harvested on the same day. So we would like our customers to be able to utilize within their food, their meal preparation, vegetables that have been harvested the very same day. And we have developed a system called Proof of Harvest, where we can capture video of the harvesting process, the preparation process of the specific vegetables that go into the specific delivery boxes to the businesses, and they can look at the QR code that will be embedded within the vegetables box and scan it, and they can see the process of harvesting, cleaning, and packaging as they happen right before the vegetables arrive to them.
Yes, and talking about niche markets, did you have anybody open up to you and ask you specifically? You said baby kale and baby greens, but do you have any buyers that are eagerly waiting for you to start growing maybe local vegetables that they don't have anymore, or?
Yes. So one of the local juice bars, they talked to us and they told us that there's one of the reasons why they are no longer doing juices and they're choosing to do smoothies is because they don't have greens. Their supply of greens, they basically went out of business because when the hurricane came, all their things were wiped out, and they really haven't been able to get themselves back up and running. And on the other hand, since we are working with permaculture, many of the things that we have here have survived, mostly because we mix in and out what goes into our different beds and our different planting areas. So the different shrubs and bushes and trees of different varieties of plants have protected many of our crops. So what we're working towards is to be able to get all these vegetables into a scheduled harvesting period to be able to offer to this juice bar and another local restaurant, both within 5 minutes from where we grow our vegetables, which is also where we live. Get them started with these items, and then and grow from there.
So you mentioned that you're in an urban area. What is it like operating a farm in the city, or more closer to homes?
Well, so it's not difficult because actually the area that I live in, most everyone was actually a farmer at one point or another. So growing has always been part of the DNA of the immediate area that I live in. Unfortunately, over the years, many of them have chosen not to grow anymore and venture off to do other jobs. But most of the properties near where I live, or right where I live, they tend to be half an acre to an acre to a couple acres, and they and having the farm and everything that we're doing is actually quite normal to them. No one really looks at it any differently. They actually are quite impressed that someone's starting to do it again, something that their parents or grandparents used to do.
Oh, so you have a lot of support from the communities as well.
Yeah, actually, my neighbor actually grows a lot himself, and me and him sort of barter and exchange vegetables. Not so much in a barter way, but more like hey, I have a lot of lettuce, and I just give him lettuce, and he drops off a pumpkin or coconuts or whatever he has growing, and neighbors from down the street do the same thing. It's actually quite interesting that we do here in our neighborhood.
So, do you see urban farms being the next big step in sustainable agriculture?
Yes. I think urban farms, small-scale, manageable farms, are the next thing to happen. As families begin to realize that it's no longer worth the risk to not understand why there's outbreaks of salmonella and different diseases found on their vegetables, when they get tired of hearing that the supermarket doesn't quite understand how and where this originated and they can't really stop it, then people are going to start trying to put matters into their own hands and grow some of these things that are quite easy to grow. I think what we need more of is education driven towards helping people develop their own little farms in their homes to defray some of the costs of their shopping list and have them produce those specific vegetables in their own home. And one of the things that we are going to be doing here is that we're going to be offering seminars to teach people how to do it, but they're going to be seminars based within a community. And within the community, we will have mentors that are growing vegetables, and we will take on many of them to come and help us work in our farm, but we will also teach them how to do things, and we will help them develop their own farm at their own property. The reason why we're doing that is because we want to achieve a couple of things. We would like to decentralize food growth and food production, and if we can help these people get up and running and give them a place where they can go to for guidance and advice when things are not working, then we can catch them before they fall off this frustration cycle of not being able to grow things. And by building a community where everyone can be helped by the mentors, and then each one of them can help each other go through this, then there's going to be less fear of failure and more of the need to be part of it. The failure in growing food will become an acceptable thing, and through failure is how we find success.
So you believe that educating more people into small farms would kind of stimulate this movement?
Exactly, yes. So a lot of the people that I've interviewed and met and talked to and asked, the basic question is that I asked them, hey, you have a front yard, and you just have grass, and every 2 weeks you're just cutting the grass. Wouldn't you rather do something else with this? And everyone wants to do something else with them. They just don't know how to start. And when they get started, the second obstacle is that they find that they might have soil that wasn't really all that great, or it needs to be fixed and prepared, and there's an investment that goes into that. Maybe they need to rent a rototiller, maybe they need to buy some wood to create some boxes, maybe they need to buy some compost and buy some acimite, some supplements of whatever for their soil, and then they begin to see that the initial cost can be somewhat prohibitive for them. So one of the goals is to be able to teach people how to grow in two phases. One, in the phase of being able to generate some initial produce for your home, for your family to consume, things such as cucumbers, lettuce, and tomatoes. And while they're doing that, and create a second phase to the growth by growing things that are of high value and are in demand within our island. And those could be things such as ginger, turmeric, sweet potatoes, things that are easy to grow, especially here in the Caribbean. What that would do is that they would be able to harvest the ginger, turmeric, sweet potatoes, but their excess they would be able to easily sell out in the markets and be able to make a very decent margin on the sale of those items. So thus they become part of not only growing food for their own consumption, but they also become part of the economy of reselling food to other areas. And that's one of the things that we believe is going to help people take a step closer to become more independent when it comes to food growing.
So you also talked about a lot of people being interested in growing their own food and not knowing where to start. Is that where the box gardens come into play?
Yes, so the box garden comes into play because for the area that we live in, we tend to have clayish soil, which means that you're going to need to dig deep into it to be able to treat it, aerate it by mixing it in with some bark, compost, some other items to allow air to breathe in, and it can be a timely task. So by having them grow into a garden box of 4 feet by 8 feet, they can just use some cardboard boxes. They don't even have to move the grass or nothing. Put the cardboard boxes right on top of the grass. Then they can put some banana, plantain leaves on the bottom on top of the cardboard boxes. And then on top of it, they can just dump some compost and some soil, mix it in, and then soak it for a while and let life come to the box. Let microorganisms begin to take shape and become part of that ecosystem, and then they can start planting the little plants within it and monitor. And what that allows, it gives them the greater chance of success, and it's much easier from a labor perspective to get it started. So that's where I think we can tackle the issue very quickly, very easily. One garden box can easily allow you to grow 3 things. You can grow tomatoes on one end, you can grow cucumbers on the other end, and you can grow some lettuce in between. And we can help them build some support for them using PVC pipes and 2-foot lattices to create an arch within the box to create some support for them. And this is not going to be something that they can that will help them make this industrial scale, but this will be very much within an urban scale that they can see the success, they can see it growing, they can see it come to play. And then also it can serve, especially for those starting in the first year, it can serve as a laboratory for us to examine what's happening. Oftentimes, when we see that the vegetables are doing great and they're growing and they're giving produce and all that, everyone gets excited. But where you learn the most is when they are not being productive, when they're not growing, when leaves are turning different colors. That allows us to give us a chance to take a look at what's happening, test the soil, understand what's happening in the soil, what is missing. We can take a look if a pest is coming into play, it's attacking the plant, and those are things that can be a very big setback for those plants. But for the farmer, the urban grower, that is the best opportunity that they're going to get to learn, to jump up their understanding, their wisdom of growing to the next level. Because then we are able to tackle the situation, show them exactly what is happening here, and put forward a method that they can tackle this, and later on in the future, not only can they combat and handle this in an organic way, but also that they can share what they learn with others, and we continue to spread this very simple but often forgotten ways of succeeding in the garden.
So for those of us that are just joining us, I'm with Gino Rossi, and he's an urban farmer in Puerto Rico. And we're just discussing about box gardens. And for those, again, that are just joining us, I'm going to ask Mr. Rossi, what materials do you use in order to build these box gardens, or they can be very simple?
Correct, yeah, they can be very simple. I normally tell people, go and take a look at what you have around the property. If you have anything that's available, let's examine what kind of wood it is. If it's not pressure-treated wood and it hasn't been painted by any staining agents, then we can certainly use it. If you do not have those available and you need to buy some, then go buy non-pressure treated wood. They can be of any height you want. See what's on sale. You can buy 2x4s, you can buy 2x6s, you can buy 2x10s, whatever your budget can allow, and whatever the sale clearance is available in your local hardware store. And then we can put them together. We can go from whatever size is available. There really is no right or wrong when it comes to putting together some garden boxes. The main thing you have to keep in mind is the space that you have available to put these garden boxes in, and to leave a walkway for you to get around, minimum of 16 inches, preferably to 2 feet, so that you can walk around the garden boxes, and then that is going to help you scale out in the event that you decide, hey, I want to grow some more stuff, I want to grow something else. Those things are key to getting those boxes started.
So when we talk about yield, do you find that there's a difference in your box garden yield versus if you planted just on the ground?
Planting on the ground, it actually is the preferred way. However, like I said, it can take more tools to make it work. If you need to get across large areas, you know, can be more timely, more consuming, etc. Putting in garden boxes for urban areas where they don't have a lot of space is more convenient for people that have the time. They're often you know, a little older, and they have more of the leisure time to be able to take more days off from work. So having the boxes be a foot off the ground is more convenient for them from a planting perspective, because they can just get a little bench, stool, and put it on the ground, and they are right there at the height of the box, and they can work in there without having any physical pain to their back or knees or etc. So that is the advantage that you get. When you're planting on the ground, you are going to basically have some challenges. You're going to need to get more tools that you may or may not have. But you know, there's only certain things that I grow on boxes, mainly vegetables and things that are considered annuals, perhaps. Some stuff here in Puerto Rico will grow past a year to 2 years. They're pseudo perennials, but they only live for 2-3 years or so, and those things are okay. But if you're going to have things like fruit trees, orange trees, limes, and any kind of fruit trees, I do not recommend them putting them on garden boxes. I recommend you prepare the soil where they're going to be planted. Make sure that they're going to get the correct sunlight, correct amount of water, and I will put those straight on the ground. Vegetables that you're going to be harvesting often, that they're going to last 2-3 months for you, and then you put in the new batch, lettuce and cucumbers and baby greens and things like that, definitely start with the garden boxes if you can.
So my last question for you, and thank you so much, you're a wonderful interviewee. What would be your ideal urban farm spread? Like, what would it look like? Would everybody have a box garden, or?
From my perspective, the ideal urban spread of growers would be that everyone actually had a specific set of things that they focus on. The way we started, we focused on 3 different things. We focused on the things that were the most costly on our grocery list. So we began growing tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers, and it seemed like we used a lot of those. And once we became successful with that, then we began expanding out. But likewise, we could have just stopped there and then started networking with other growers and find out what they're growing and then begin to barter with them. We certainly had way more tomatoes than we needed and way more cucumbers than we needed. So having done an exchange would have doubled our ability to have homegrown produce, half of it being traded from another grower. So ideally, I think, the neighbors need to start getting to know each other better. We need to help them understand the pathway that we need to be at so we are food self-sufficient, and show them different ways where they can grow, how they can grow, and plan things out to what they can do within their allowable time from work and from family, and then expand on that homegrown vegetable produce by exchanging with other neighbors, so that you don't have tomatoes and cucumbers that go to waste because you couldn't eat them all, exchanging with other people, and now your cooking is more expanded. So we need to, from a urban growing perspective, we need to communicate more. We need to barter, exchange more with neighbors, and we need to get good at what we're growing, understand clearly, and it's very easy for people to do so. They can just say, hey, how do you grow tomatoes, and put that right into YouTube and find a video, and you can just start finding a different success stories from different people, how they're doing it, and get good at growing 2, 3 different things. And then we need something that brings everybody together, the fiber of the community, so that people can see, share their successes, share their failures, be part of a small movement, understand that they're not alone, understand that they can reach out for help, understand that they can share their success and share the recipes to their success, so that other people can find them useful, can find them applicable, and they can find their own success.
So when you talk about community and info sharing, would you be interested in kind of making a guild there? I know there's a few guilds, farm guilds in California and in the lower states, but I've done some extensive research in farm guilds up in Canada, and I've recently learned there is none. There is none for Ontario, and there's no farm guilds for Quebec either. So maybe farm guilding and starting up, some community spots where farmers can get together and talk together would be a good idea.
I think that would be a very good idea, especially for folks who don't have the space for their farm garden. That especially for people who don't have the full level commitment yet to be able to do this. So it's often for them. It's good for them to join a community before they're actually contributing to the community. So one of the things that can be done, especially in areas here in Puerto Rico, you can always approach the municipality and offer them to take over abandoned public areas like sports parks, etc., with the purposes of creating a community farm, community garden that is co-sponsored by them, and then spreading the word to neighbors to have everyone come in and chip in to build out what they need to build out and grow within that area. However, I think that's only useful for people who don't actually have the space or time to dedicate to it. I think if you have your own farm and your own garden, your own home, your own property, I think it's always good for someone to start it at home, because no one's going to take care of something like a garden better than the homeowner who actually lives in there. We are talking about not just the produce, but also what it looks like and the aesthetics part of it. When you want something to be part of your home from the outside, you want to look as good as possible, and those are people who are going to be bound to take better care of what they're doing. But that excludes people who don't have the area to grow, and that's where I think community gardens can be a really, really good idea. Allow people to come in and do that. And also, for those who have knowledge, for those who are successful at growing things, they can volunteer some of their time and help people get started in there. And that is a really good place to get it going. And I myself, if we are able to build something out like that over here, I would be one of the first ones to probably bring in, a couple hundred plants to just get it started, so that people can understand what to do, what it look like, harvest seeds and go through the entire process of what it takes to go from one crop to another, and by caring for the plant, watching it develop, watching it grow, and harvesting it and reutilizing the seeds that they yield.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here on the show. And that was Joe Rossi. He's an urban farmer in Puerto Rico. And I wish you all the best.
Gino Rossi.
Oh, sorry, Gino Rossi. All the best with your year this year, and we hope that you have good yields and you have good weather. And thank you again. That was Gino Rossi at rossinaturals.com, and I'll also put a link on stonebeachpermaculture.blogspot.com, so that you can go and see for yourself what he's up to this year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good one.